Hey friends, Green Crayon and I are back from New York. We always love New York. All the sights to see, all the arts to see, the people are awesome. We went to visit the artist Faith Ringgold, and Faith Ringgold is an African American artist, a female African American artist, and she's also an author. She does work in sculpting. She's a performance artist as well, and she is best known for her quilts. And her quilts are these huge, beautiful pieces that narrates her political beliefs. Her mother was a fashion designer and her father was a storyteller. So she was raised in the environment that encouraged her creativity. She grew up in the 1930s, and that was about the time where the Great Depression happened. And in 1950, she enrolled at City College in New York. She wanted to major in art, but she had to change her major to art education because women then were only allowed to major in certain areas at a time. In many of Faith Ringgold's pieces, the buildings that appear in her cityscape appear to be overlapping. She places them in such a way so that the perspective creates the illusion of three dimension. So today we are going to be drawing our version of a cityscape in 3D. And it's going to look something like this. And I'll see y'all on the drawing board. Hey friends, today we're going to create our version of Faith Ringgold's Tar Beach. And in Tar Beach, as well as many of her other pieces, she creates these beautiful cityscapes, and the buildings appear to be overlapping on top of each other. Today's lesson, you will need a blank sheet of paper, pencil, Sharpie, eraser, and anything to create color. It could be color pencils, markers, or crayons, or a combination of them. So I'm going to go ahead and clear my board. And today I want to create my cityscape in a portrait mode, so my paper is this direction and not horizontal or landscape, working in a portrait direction. Okay, I'm going to start off at the bottom left corner of my paper. This is building number 1. Create a horizontal line. If you have a ruler and you would like to use a ruler, you can use a ruler. I'm just going to draw it on my own. Okay, that's building number 1, and I want to create the illusion that it is 3 dimension. So I'm going to create a diagonal line from this corner till about here, and then I'm going to create a parallel line, a vertical parallel line. That's the line that looks just like this line, but it's on just slightly to the side of it. So now my building looks like it's 3 dimension. I am towards the bottom of the building and I'm looking up. So that's building 1. We'll come back in and do windows after. Building 2, and this is where it appears to be overlapping. It's actually behind building number 1, but we don't draw our line straight through. We just make it stop so it appears that it disappeared. On a horizontal line again, and then we're going to bring this down with a vertical line. And again, just like we did here, we want to create a diagonal line and then a parallel vertical line. And this building is going to have a little bit of an extra at the top, so I'm going to add in another story here. Almost like a rectangle. And then the same thing happens with this part. You want to create a diagonal line, and that diagonal line is going to look like it's parallel. It's not going to be quite as long as this line. And then a vertical parallel line, and that's going to add dimension onto that second layer. Let's go ahead and add in a third layer. And the same diagonal line, vertical line. And I want a nice top for this building. So we'll create a triangle. And even in the triangle, we're going to have this line, or an almost diagonal line, that's going to help create that 3D look, okay? So let's start here, and as we are bringing it down, we want to go a little bit away, not too much, so that happens. And if you have room at the top, you can put a flag. I'm going to put a very tiny flag. All right, and then I'm going to create another building on this side, so I'm going to start by about here. I'm going to put a horizontal line. And take it off the page. I want to stick a building in here, so I'm going to start about here. Vertical line, horizontal line, and then I want to create that diagonal line as well. This is going to tell me that this building, I can see part of it, the side, and it's going to go down there. Let's create another layer for this building. Diagonal line, and drop that right there. I'm going to go in and add my windows. And my windows are pretty much just a series of squares. If you want to add rectangular windows, you can add rectangular windows. This is almost like a pattern. You want to make sure your windows are about the same size all the way through. So that window looks like it disappeared behind the side of your building. And the same for this window. So you're drawing enough where you can recognize that an object of importance is there. The dividing line is probably going to disappear behind there. So that's my circular window at the very top, and we're just adding dimension. I want to do the same for this part here. Some windows. Keep adding windows. Again, when you get to a point where your windows, they don't look like they're even because you have another overlapping line, just make it disappear. And that actually is going to help you with that three-dimensional look. Just because you don't see the line doesn't mean that the line isn't there. Okay, and this building, I think I want it to be like a glass building. So I'm going to go ahead and create some vertical lines. Let's fix this line. To put some horizontal lines. When I color this, I'm only going to color a few of those rectangles. That creates the illusion that some lights are on, some lights are off. And right about here, I want to put a small building because it just kind of looks bland right here. So I'm going to put a horizontal line and bring it down here and maybe put another building here. So small building. And again with my diagonal lines. Okay, and let's stick some windows in. These windows are going to be smaller than these windows because my building is smaller. Again, overlapping lines, it disappears. Some windows on this building. 1, 2. Stick one more building here. And these windows will have half a circle. Okay, and we're missing windows for this building. Let's do some of these windows here. So a horizontal line and then a curve. All right, friends, I'm going to go ahead and outline my cityscape. Okay, and right before we add color, I'm just going to create some hatching lines. Hatching lines are lines that are similar in direction and they just create the texture or the illusion. So we're going to create some hatching lines and this will just kind of help with the sides of our building. And the closer your hatching lines are together, the more intense or the darker your building or the sides. The closer your hatching lines are together, the darker the side of the building is going to appear. These hatching lines are parallel to that very first diagonal line that you made at the top. Okay, and notice I didn't fill the whole space with color. I preferred the hatching lines. That kind of adds to the illusion that there's depth. Okay, friends, I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to add color. You don't have to use the same colors I do. Just fill your buildings with color. Okay, and I'm going to use the same color for the sides, even though I have these hatched diagonal lines going through. The building is still the same color. And I'm not pressing quite as dark for this one because I just want a little hint of color to just come through. Notice when I'm coloring the sides, I'm also coloring in the direction of the hatched lines, so in a diagonal motion. And I'm going to go ahead and black out some of these windows. Some of these windows are, the lights are off. I'm just going to use my Sharpie. And let's go for one more window. Okay, and now we're just going to color our windows. Okay, and our evening sky. I'm going to turn my paper to the side for a minute. And I'm actually going to use two, so I just used cerulean blue, and I'm going to use a violet. And I'm lightly letting the two colors overlap, and that creates the illusion that the sky is slightly darker and it's close to the evening. All right, friends, there you have it. Our version of Faith Ringgold's Tar Beach, our beautiful cityscape. That was so much fun. I love making things look three-dimensional. Remember, Faith Ringgold is an African-American artist, a female African-American artist. She was also an author. She created works with mixed media sculpting. She was also a performance artist. She was born in Harlem, New York in 1930, so she is 90 years old right now. I know, 90 years years old, right? And she is best known for her quilted narrations that communicates her political beliefs. And her mother was a fashion designer, her father was a storyteller, so she was around the environment that really harnessed her creativity. In 1950, she enrolled at the City College of New York to major in art, but she was forced to change her major to art education because back then women were not allowed to major in certain areas at a time. I know. Faith Ringgold, she has my heart. I love her. I had fun today, friends. Y'all be safe. I'll see y'all next time.